What's up, Bulldogs? All right, today we're going to be answering the question of whether you should become a playboy or you should date to marry, right? So a lot of guys have asked me variations of this question, and I wanted to give you some good advice on this, which is the answer is yes. So what do I mean by that? I mean that you should be doing both of these things, but at different phases in your life. So the ideal time for you as a man to enter long-term relationships and to date to actually get married is after 30. Preferably, it would be around 35 to 40 and beyond. Before then, before 30, you should not get into long-term relationships as a man. You just shouldn't. It's not worth it. It's gonna waste your energy and your time, and it is not gonna help you. And it's gonna be harder. It's gonna be harder for you to find a good woman. It's gonna be harder for you to find a woman that is gonna be loyal to you. You don't even know who you are at this point. You have not increased your sexual marketplace value to the peak that it is that you can achieve in your 30s. There's some guys that disagree with this. They say, oh, that's not true. Look, a man's potential, his greatest potential is from 35 to 45. That's when his greatest potential is. It doesn't mean that men actualize that potential. That's what you need to understand, is that it does not mean that you're going to become your greatest at that point. You become worse. You could have been your greatest in your 20s, but then you went downhill. But if you're doing what I'm telling you to do and developing yourself as a man in your 20s, you're setting yourself up for the future where it's really gonna count. Where you're in your 30s, you're gonna have money, you're gonna have game, you're gonna have status, you're gonna know who you are, you're gonna be grounded as yourself as a man, and you're gonna have experience with women, right? So the answer is, in your 20s, you should be more of a playboy. Again, not too much to the extreme where you're sacrificing the more important things you need to be doing in your life, because in your 20s, you need to be working hard, building a business, making money, building yourself, getting to the gym, being disciplined, focusing on using that energy that you have and the time that you have, which will compound later, the results will compound later, to build yourself as much as possible to become the best man possible. Now, during that time, if you want to date women, that's fine. And you should probably do some. You should at least be cold approaching. You should at least be developing some of these social skills. Okay, which doesn't take a lot of time to do if you don't mix it with alcohol and you don't obsess over this, but you just say, okay, whenever I go out, I talk to women that I'm interested in, or maybe one night a week or whatever, I practice just going out and trying to have interactions with women and doing cold approach. Okay, that's the time to do that, to learn that, right? You're gonna get in flings with women. You're gonna have short-term relationships or even longer-term ones that are not committed relationships where you're still playing the field. You're still being the playboy there. That's gonna be useful to you. But then when you get into your 30s and you start to get serious, which you should, because you should want to have one woman. Okay, I've been all around the spectrum and I can tell you that the best outcome in life is to have one woman that you have a deep, intimate relationship with, okay? I've had the availability of many women. I didn't have to settle back down again. I chose to because I found it to be extremely valuable when you find the right one, which means you being the right guy, okay? Which means working on yourself. And so if you were a playboy in your 20s and you developed these skills to attract women, right? You've had the attention of women. You know who you are as a man. You've developed yourself. Then when you get into your 30s and your 40s, what's gonna happen? You're gonna have a wider selection, so you're gonna make right choices. You're not gonna put a woman on a pedestal that you just met, because you're gonna realize you're gonna have an abundance mind, so you're gonna realize there's lots of women out there. You're gonna be more vetting in the women that you select, and you're gonna know what you're looking for in a marriage, and you're gonna know more how to show up. You're still gonna have to learn some relationship skills. In fact, we did a whole episode on this on the Better Than Perfect podcast, episode 69 appropriately, all right? Hard advice to men in their 20s. Watch that episode 69. That's gonna change your perspective on it. It's gonna tell you what you need to learn, what you need to do as a man in your 20s. But yeah, the answer is both. You do want to, you want to make sure that you're a guy that has played the field, okay? Because you have to have experience, because women will run you over if you haven't had experience. But do not get into serious relationships, committed relationships, until at least in your 30s and potentially 40s. And that's where you're gonna have, this is my formula for the best life for you, right? You know, if you can delay this for this time, you're gonna have the widest selection. You're gonna get it out of your system also early. You're gonna have an abundance mindset, and you're gonna be ready to financially support a woman and a family, and you're gonna be ready for marriage. But watch that episode if you really want the full details on this. I'll see you tomorrow.